Good evening. Tonight's emergency meeting of the Edmond City Council for Thursday, April 23rd is now called to order. I want to thank you all for watching. The Edmond City Council is conducting our second meeting this week. This is an emergency meeting posted yesterday. On Monday, we had a regularly scheduled City Council meeting, and we're doing again another virtual meeting because of the national coronavirus emergency. The City Council members are all located at different places around the city. I'm located in the mayor's office at City First Building. Other people on the council are attending at home and at their offices. Before we introduce the people online, I'd like our city attorney, Mr. Murdoch, to make some obligatory opening remarks regarding a virtual meeting. Mr. Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The Edmond City Council will close the council chambers and hold an emergency meeting this afternoon by video conference. This change is to protect the public health while maintaining critical operations and is in accordance with recent changes to the State of Oklahoma Open Meeting Act as set out in Senate Bill 661. The changes define how to hold open meetings remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic and national emergency. Each member of the City Council and members of the city staff are participating remotely via video conference. The posted agenda for this emergency meeting provides notice to the public on how to watch the meeting and connect to the meeting. Also, should a connection with any one of the City Council members present for the video conference be lost, the meeting will be recessed to reestablish the connection. We will recess the meeting up to a maximum of 30 minutes to reestablish the connection. If reconnection is not possible, the meeting will be reconvened on either Friday, April 24th at 4 p.m. or on Monday, April 27th at 5:30 p.m. Also, pursuant to Title 25 Oklahoma Statute Sections 304.5 and 311.13, an emergency meeting is necessary to respond immediately to the national, state, and local emergency currently existing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the city's declaration of emergency dated April 6, 2020, and to prevent injury to persons. I have additional comments, mayors, that I can make at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to introduce the council and the members to the audience of the city staff that are here attending. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dan O'Neill. I'm the mayor of the city of Edmond, and I'm in the City First building. Nick, you can go next.
Nick Massey, I'm Mayor Pro Tem and Ward 4 City Councilman. I'm in my office in Edmond.
David?
David Chapman, Ward 1. I am in the Chapman House here in beautiful downtown Edmond. It's a beautiful day down here.
Thank you very much. Daryl?
Daryl Davis, Ward 3, City Council. I'm in my house in Ripple Creek.
Josh?
Josh Moore, Ward 2, Edmond City Council, and I'm in my house at Chitwood Farms.
Our city manager, Larry?
Larry Stevens, city manager. I'm also in City First in another room of City First.
Okay. Mr. Murdoch?
Yes, Steve Murdoch and Cindy Favell, city clerk, were in the basement of the City First building.
Thank you very much. Matt, can you turn on your mic? Matt Stillwell.
Just a second, Mr. Mayor. I've got to bring him up.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor. Matt Stillwell, and I'm over here at the Public Safety Center in my office.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Casey?
Casey Moore, I am not going to show you my face because you don't need to see it. I am doing all of the work behind the scenes right now, trying to get everybody in the meeting and make sure that people can speak when they need to speak.
Okay. This is a very special meeting, so it's called officially an emergency meeting. And the purpose of this meeting is the discussion and consideration of amendments to the required or revised declaration of emergency regarding COVID-19 that we issued on April 6, 2020. On Monday night, we asked our emergency management director, Matt Stillwell, to give us our first Edmond reports on how the virus had affected our city, as opposed to just getting statistics that were countywide. We've asked Matt to come back this afternoon to give us an update and to let us know from his perspective how this emergency is going in our community. Matt? Your mute's on.
Okay, we got through those technical difficulties. And good afternoon again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm pleased to report this afternoon that the Edmond numbers have remained steady since Monday. So we have 40 confirmed cases within the Edmond proper city limits. Again, I'll reiterate for folks that didn't hear on Monday, if you look at the state's dashboard or you see some of the median numbers, they are reflecting higher numbers simply because of the overlap of the zip codes. Here in Edmond, we have 6 zip codes. Most of them overlap either into a county area, Deer Creek, even into Logan County. So we are able to accurately track, though, how many confirmed cases in the city, and we're at 40. And then as far as deaths, we are estimating 5. That's based on the zip code information. And again, that's a little more ambiguous. If we look at really the state and the county numbers, we went over 3,000 cases. Today we're at 3,017 with 179 deaths, and in Oklahoma County we're at 634 with 25 fatalities. What I'd like to really concentrate on today, and Mr. Mayor and Council, I know you're working real hard and trying to plan according to the steps that the White House has put out and the comments that the governor made yesterday, to really look at what pattern we have over the last 14 days when it comes to new cases in the state of Oklahoma and in the state or the county and in Oklahoma County. And what we're seeing, as reported on Monday, is really a plateau. Basically, we're averaging over the past 14 days just over 95 new cases in the state of Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma County, just shy of 18 cases a day. So as we look back over the last 14 days, the largest day that we had was actually the day before yesterday with 127 cases. And the lowest reported date number of cases in the state was on the 19th of April with 29 cases. So Casey's brought up a document here. I think you can all see it here. And I thought this was a really good visual to give you an idea of what that plateau is. So this is a funnel chart. And being in Oklahoma, I thought that was appropriate, but actually I went through, all kidding aside, I went through a bunch of charts, and this one has a great visual because what we're looking at is a funnel of data. So the widest amount of data being at the top, that'd be the highest number of cases. And for the reduction that we're looking for, we want this visual to turn into a funnel. And so if you look at the state numbers and the county numbers, it's pretty much still a box right now, which is visually showing us that plateau. And then just to go over real quickly the county numbers, basically, like I said, we're averaging just under 18 cases a day. So you can look further into this, and I'll send a copy out to everyone so you can look a little bit closer at this information. But, we've been talking about the plateau for a while. The objective is the funnel, and this visual really isn't showing it. And so we'll keep tracking this on a day-by-day basis, and hopefully we can move in the direction that we all want to move in. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on these numbers, but I thought these number of new cases was probably the most relevant information to the decisions that you have to make.
Matt, do you feel like that the reason that it doesn't funnel is because of the reporting methods?
That is a really great question. And I would say yes to that. I think the testing certainly isn't perfect. I think we're in much better shape than we were 6 weeks ago. We just didn't have tests back then. We do have more tests available and more testing locations available out there. So I think the data is becoming more reliable. But with all the different sources of data that we have, I think it's pretty safe to say that the numbers that we're seeing are probably much lower than what reality is.
Do you have the same thing for hospitalizations, the same funnel chart?
No, I don't. And that was one thing I did want to touch on real quick. So the governor yesterday did talk about using the hospitalization data as part of the decision-making process that he's going through. And so the data that we have basically is, they peaked just over 500 hospitalizations all at once, and now we're under 300. So we can see if we can get that information from the health department, but that's something that they're not readily providing for us.
At the last year, though, we're doing a substantial number more tests per day than what we were doing. I think I heard a number 13,000. Is that a problem? So if you have 100 cases, new cases, when you're testing 13,000, it's a whole lot different than you have 100 cases and you only tested 500.
And there is a point to that. I did look at the data that the county provides as far as the number of tests they're doing at the drive-through facility down at the fairgrounds. That seems to be pretty consistent. They're still more or less, 200 tests a day.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, council, for Matt?
Matt, are you getting any recovery numbers recovered?
Yeah, we do, and I can provide those to you. There's a lot of ambiguity, and we use that word a lot. But out of all the numbers that we're getting, we're probably, I would say those are the least reliable.
Yeah.
But I can go ahead and send that information to you because they do provide a column for that.
Okay.
And listen, Daryl, I wish there was some way that we can get a standard set of data points that we're using consistently, because with the variables that we have out there, this data each day can be skewed, that we might think that we're going down on a funnel one day, then the next thing we're going back into a box. So the more possibly that if we can use the same data points and agree on those and use that as an evaluation, and then that might help us out in some of our decision makings in the future.
And that's a very good point that you're making, and that's why I think if we that's why I like the funnel chart. So if we look at that as a whole and we kind of blur our eyes, we're going to be able to see a pattern. Because we look back on the 19th, which was just a few days ago. The state only reported 29 cases. So what was the anomaly that caused that? I'm sure the pattern didn't reduce that day. It was just what was reported. So, but what we're trying to do is to use the data that the state health department's providing, and at some point it catches up. So I'm confident that if we look at this chart in particular, overall we're going to get an indication of a reduction of cases.
I'm told that the reporting doesn't get done over the weekend as well, and so that's why you have those large ones on some days. Does that sound reasonable?
There's some truth to that, but there's no consistency there, because we're seeing some weekends where the numbers are up, and then we're seeing other weekends where it's down.
So you really need to look for trending.
Yes.
So, and also on that trending, because aren't results taking 7 to 10 days right now?
Yes. So yeah, and that is absolutely accurate. In fact, we received information today that a test we want to hear about is going to take 4 to 7 days is what they told us. But even there, so the test comes back, how long is it taking for that medical facility or that entity to provide that information to the state? So we certainly anticipate a low, and we know that there's a lull in the information that we're receiving.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions for Matt, council?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since our May 6th or April 6th proclamation, there are two major changes that have happened that bear on tonight's meeting. One of them was the President and the White House publishing their Opening Up America Again plan, which discussed gating requirements for performance that would allow us to go into phase one of opening America for business. And that was last week. The White House published that. Yesterday, Governor Stitt announced his plans to restart the Oklahoma recovery process. I don't know if you can see that or not, but he's published that, and it's out there, and we're trying to follow it. What happened was there were some surprises yesterday in Governor Stitt's announcement, and Mr. Murdoch, can you give us a brief summary of the changes that he requested and why we're having this meeting today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. There's only one item on your agenda this afternoon, and it's staff's understanding that.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
your mic is cutting out. Could you come up? Could you go ahead and stand up and come closer if you don't mind? Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay. There's only one item on your agenda, and it's staff's understanding that this emergency meeting is necessary as a result of Governor Stitt's announcement of the Open Up and Recovery Safety Plan yesterday afternoon, as the mayor indicated. As a part of that announcement, the governor stated that personal care businesses, to wit, hair and nail salons, barbershops, spas, tanning salons, and pet groomers may reopen for appointments only beginning tomorrow, April 24th, 2020. Our current emergency declaration requires those businesses to remain closed through April 30th of 2020. So we are continuing to monitor these issues, and we have reviewed the, mayor indicated, the Open Up and Recover Safely Plan, which is entitled a 3-phased approach to open Oklahoma's economy. This 3-phase plan indicated specifically with regard to April 24th, 2020, the businesses that I just mentioned could be reopened, subject to guidelines that are posted on the Oklahoma Department of Commerce website regarding social distancing between customers and visitors at these personal care businesses. Also, the
Daryl, I believe that's coming from you. Okay, Mr. Murdoch, we're having some sound issues with you. Can you hang tight for just a second, please? Mr. Mayor, I'm going to see if we can fix that.
Okay.
We can
Thank you.
repeat that because I know that it's cutting in and out. I don't know what's going on with that microphone. Sorry about that. We can just hang tight for a second.
Can you hear me speaking clearly, or is it cutting in and out? Can you hear? You cannot hear? Well, it's the microphone is in the camera. So can you hear me speaking at all, or is it very muffled?
It's muffled.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just gonna have to project. I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to try again. As part of the governor's announced plan, Oklahoma will begin implementing a 3-phased approach to open Oklahoma's economy starting April 24th, 2020. They indicated that reopening April 24th was part of phase 1 and outlined those personal care businesses that I mentioned earlier. There's also part of phase 1 is reopening May 1 and mentions other businesses which we can talk about at our meeting on Monday. Also, there's on the Department of Commerce website, you will find additional information related to these personal care businesses, hair and nail salons and barbershops, and has certain rules and requirements that must be followed by these businesses in order to reopen by appointment only. They have to do with temperature checks, sanitation and disinfecting guidelines, social distancing guidelines, and dealing with treatment rooms. These similar guidance documents are available for spas and tanning salons, and also for pet care businesses. So if in fact the council would like to take any action with regard to these personal care businesses, they would have to do so recognizing that they could be open tomorrow, but these additional guidelines must be complied with to be consistent with the governor's order.
Hey. Is there any other questions for council? For our counselor?
We're going to relocate him to another place.
Okay.
So he'll be back up and running here in just a couple of minutes if you guys would like to continue your discussion.
One of the things they talked about specifically was the healthcare, the hair and nail salons and barbershops. Today we received some guidance from the Department of Commerce. It was pretty specific with respect to how they expected these businesses to operate during phase one of the recovery. And it is fairly elaborate in the requirements that they've laid out. It's not impossible to do, but I've talked to a number of the people that are in that business. Two of them have told me that they wouldn't be able to be ready to operate Friday anyway. They thought they might be able to get around to working maybe Wednesday or Thursday next week if they had to. But it didn't appear that they were ready to comply with all these requirements. We're fairly unfamiliar with some of the requirements. And some of the things that are required in this, such as masks, are not readily available. And so they might have some difficulty locating them. One of them involved a nail salon at one of our major big box stores. And so that's some people with some experience, and it's not a small operation, it's a big time operation. I don't know, have you all talked to any of your friends and neighbors that are involved in that business? Any opinions on how ready they are to start tomorrow?
Well, I've heard from a number of people. Some of them are ready to go or say they're ready to go. Some it's going to take them a few days, and some are not going to do it at all. But I think those who feel they can meet the requirements are going to try to do it.
Okay. Daryl, any thoughts?
Well, I have not seen the new guidance that's come out from the Department of Commerce yet, which I'm really interested in seeing that. But I do have concern about the amount of materials, PPE, that is going to be necessary for the businesses to open up. If there's information out there that it's in short supply, I would really question how could somebody be actually ready tomorrow to comply with that. But I think we need to really understand the guidance that's out there and the feasibility of it actually happening when we make our decision.
Okay. Josh, any thoughts?
Yeah, I can echo what Nick said. I've been emails, calls, messages from people in the hair business specifically, and dog grooming, and a couple that I've received today. They're already planning to from the governor's meeting yesterday to, of course, what I'm hearing from them is that they don't want to endanger their customers and their clients any more than anybody does. They need their customers in order to operate a business. And I don't think any of us want to endanger anybody, and we don't want the numbers to spike again and have to dial it back again, which the governor made it clear yesterday that the numbers are going to be watched very closely, and we're gonna tiptoe into it and phase into it and can pull it back if we have to, if something alarms us. But I've heard from some close friends of mine that are in the hair business. They want to be safe. They're already preparing for it. I don't think the feeling I got is that it doesn't have to be tomorrow. I'm hearing that they want it to be soon. I am, and that they can prepare for that. I don't think it has to be tomorrow.
Okay. David?
I agree that some of them are going to be ready, and some of them have a clientele that they do color and they do permanents and they do things that take a lot longer than say a supercuts or something that runs volume through. These are very different operations. And so one type of that operation will only see maybe 5 clients in a day, and the other will have literally 100 through there in a day. You know what I mean? Those are very different operations, and we're trying to lump them all in, which is not easy to do. But from what I'm hearing, they're like, look, a few days we can do it, but they want to know, they want a date so that they can prepare for that date, that they can go get their employees ready, that they can get their shop clean and sanitized, they can get the masks that are going to be required, they can prepare, they can get, this other thing is they got to do appointments, so they got to get these people scheduled out. There's a lot of things that they can be doing if we can give them a date of when they're going to open, even if it's not tomorrow. I think that it would be very helpful for them in order to prepare their business if we could actually give them a date. And maybe we can do that Monday night, maybe we can do that tonight, I don't know. But I think we need to start being able to give somebody some predictions of when they're going to be back in business so they can prepare.
I'm sort of, the general gist is I think we're ready to get back in business. I think the March 1st date or May 1st date sounds like a good project date for the target date for us to work towards. I'm not ready to say that we won't change things, because who knows for sure what information we'll have a week from today or next Monday. But anyway, I think it would be appropriate for us to certainly maybe give the staff a sense of the council that we're ready to work towards the 1st of May date to opening up things. And but for the time being, we're going to leave things the way they are now. If anybody wants to still make a motion on that, or discuss it further, please let me know. But if you have to make a motion, but we can always leave the issue alone and just say died for lack of a motion. So go ahead.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about that, and to echo David's point, if just because we approve you can start tomorrow or you can start Saturday or Monday doesn't mean you have to do that, and not everybody's going to do it, and they still have to meet the requirements that are quite stringent, but at least it gives them the opportunity to shoot for that if they choose to do so. This, I'm like all of us, I've gotten a lot of emails and calls today from very passionate people on both sides of the argument. I'd say I'd kind of looked at the numbers. About 65% of the people were for allowing it and 35% against it. Of course, the ones for allowing it certainly have a point of view there because they want to do it. But I've gone back and forth on this all day today. This is probably the toughest decision I've had to make since I've been on the council for 8 years. And we heard from the governor that to go to phase 1 and this, we're going to, the Secretary of Health and Mental Health has to confirm that certain requirements been met, and that happened yesterday. So I've heard all the reasons why and worry why we shouldn't do this, and worries about opening up too soon, and I understand that and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I worry about these people who are disproportionately affected by this, who are out of work. Many are independent contractors, can't afford to be out of work very long. To make matters worse for many of them, they're not eligible for unemployment benefits or any of the SBA loans. They're just out of luck, and they're hurting. So I don't know how many barbers or hairstylists or nail techs or whatever we have in Edmond, but I can't imagine that it's a huge number, and I can't imagine they're all ready to go in the next couple of days. And if we do nothing, they'll all be able to go back to work next Friday anyway on May 1st. But when you think about it, how many people are they likely to expose to COVID-19 in the next week? And I would imagine it's nowhere near the potential number of exposures in all the big box stores, and we don't think much of that. So I hear and I understand all the arguments against it, and I think there are many legitimate arguments for it. Just as a pro-business person and sympathetic to the people that have suffered the most of this, my heart breaks for them, and they're going to be playing catch up for a long time in the income that they've missed out on. And I say just let them go back to work. I don't see where there's a big risk here over the next 6 or 7 days. And I just feel like somebody needs to stand up for these people and other small business owners, and I'll be glad to be one of them. But I just can't, in good conscience, under these circumstances, tell them no.
So is that a motion?
I don't know. Well, I would like to have more conversation on that. Nick, I understand where you're coming from, but part of the scenario here is a comment I made earlier, is having that common set of data points. And one of the things that came from the White House is the plan for us to have a regional approach on how to approach this. And so regionally, when you look at our data gets more skewed when each city goes off and does something independently. And I understand it might, even one extra person getting exposed is one person too many, in my mind. But the thing is when you're looking at data analysis, if we're looking at data analysis to determine how open, close, move to the left, move to the right, if we keep skewing the data here, we'll never come up with a rational decision at the end of the day.
We also heard that there'll be a meeting tomorrow with the county health commissioner and the Mayor Hope from Oklahoma City, and to announce what the latest gating statistics are. So, well, at least Monday we will have that information, and that would be good information to have. We were hoping maybe we would have that information today at the meeting, but we didn't. But anyway, we've always sort of prided ourselves on the trying to sort of stay in sync with how Oklahoma City was doing, and they've expressed an opinion so far that they want to wait till the 30th. And the governor gave us that option. The governor really did give us that option when he made the exception for tomorrow. Anyway.
And Mayor, I've been part of that said that we ought to follow what Oklahoma City does, and we ought to do this as a region, because I think that's where you're the most effective in getting rid of it. However, I would not be in favor of, I heard one of their councilmen today say that he wants another month, and I'm out. At some point, we're Edmond, right? We're not Oklahoma City. But I think that we go with them when we can go with them, and we do what we can as a region. But at some point, it's not going to make sense to us to do exactly what they do, and then we have to make a decision. One of the things that I'll say to Nick, I appreciate what you said, Nick, and while 6 days is not a long time, in the real estate world, 6 days is basically your house payment. because it's roughly a quarter of the month.
Exactly.
And so that quarter is basically 25%. So 25 to 30% is what we look for housing for somebody. And so, this is a tough decision for me too because of that. I understand every single day is income that these people can make. And so I get that.
Yeah, and they're really hurting, yeah.
So
If I can, comment on early on. I mean, we discussed and I think we all agreed because we voted on it that we were staying in line with Oklahoma City and staying consistent to kind of to alleviate confusion and different addresses and city limits. But as we've gone through this, and I think it worked, we were kind of behind them because we were letting them make a decision, and then we were scheduling our meeting and doing our thing, and then the governor did what the governor did. But coming out of this, I'll just share my concern is waiting for Oklahoma City to make their announcement and their decision, and then we schedule our meeting because we're different with our city council making the full decision. That it seems like we're always 2 or 3 days behind them just because the way the scheduling works with scheduling our meetings and announcing them. And so right now we're at the same with April 30th. And I understand, I know the cities that have said we're staying with April 30th, and I'm personally okay with giving our businesses time until April 30th to plan up until that point. But at that point, coming out of this, I don't know if I'm comfortable with waiting for Oklahoma City to make their decision and then us falling behind. At some point, I feel like we need to set our date. We need to, and I'd like to do that tonight, really, set our date for something and let our businesses that affects, let them start doing their planning.
Well, in my mind, for us to set a date, for us to do something, which could be after April 30th or starting tomorrow, is what is the data, what is the criteria that we're going to be using to do that? I mean, the conversations I've had with people is that there is part of a medical determination that we're looking at, that type of information. And so if we're going to make a decision to do something, what is the criteria we're going to have to do that? And we have our emergency manager talking to us every meeting about the data he's getting, but each time that data is a little bit different. Are we going to have a set, or are we just going to let it keep fluctuating? That's all I'm asking.
I think that's sorry to interrupt you. I think that's the topic for Monday night. I think that the only thing that is before us tonight is, do we allow personal care type facilities to start operating tomorrow or not? And, we could vote one way or the other on that. If we say no, then according to what we have in place now, our emergency declaration is going to expire April 30th. And according to the governor, everybody, including personal care facilities, can go back May 1st. So, and I think the plan is to debate that more, possibly with more data on Monday. But tonight's agenda says, are we going to allow them to start operating tomorrow? Yes or no?
Any further discussion, council?
Well, I will point out from Matt's report earlier, I think I heard him say that we've been getting the local data for 14 days, or at least he reported for 14 days that it's leveled, and that it had peaked at a time before then. And then for 14 days, it has leveled. Is that what you said, Matt?
Okay, I'm unmuted here. As far as, it just depends on what you mean by local. So the Edmond information, we didn't start getting until late last week. So,
Okay.
But that 40 number we were at 39 on Friday. In fact, on Thursday, I think we're at 39. And then we went to 40 over the weekend, and now it's Thursday, and we're at 40 at the local level. But if we look at the county numbers, you know, we've been right around 20 for a good period of time, a good 5-6 days in a row. And then the report that we got today, we're up to 27 new cases. So I think Darrell makes a good point that the data is fluctuating. We're going to continue to see that. Councilman Chapman, his point about the fact that, you know, it's just not consistent depending on what day of the week it is. Those are all realities that we have to deal with. And that's why I think, you know, you blur your eyes a little bit when you look at the data and you really want to see this, right? We're still here. That's what I'm saying. It's plain black and white in front of me. We're still here. So I don't know if that helps you out, Josh, but
it does answer it. Thanks, Matt.
The other thing, guys, that I've been thinking about is what does 6 days get us if we wait until the 30th? And one of the things is we don't have good testing. It's not consistent. We don't have enough, and it takes, you know, 7 to 12 days to get it back. So maybe that's one thing that we're going to get a little bit in the next 6 days. Apparently it's getting better every day. Is that true, Matt? I mean, where do you think we're at with testing?
He's muted.
As I said earlier, I think it's better, but I just can't believe that that it's all inclusive. I think that's the issue that we have. There was some and this is off the cuff a little bit, but Chris Knifing out at the water plant provided us some data on how they can measure COVID levels in waste and stuff. And they've got some formulas that they're working on. And again, it's all experimental and everything. But there's an opinion there that that the picture that we get from testing is really just a fraction of what reality is as far as how many people are actually infected. So the weird thing about this is it's new. We've never really dealt with anything like this before. It's a new virus that crept up on us relatively quickly, and data's been all over the place. Hopefully, we're harnessing it in, and hopefully we're getting smarter with the data, and the data is becoming more reliable to us. I believe that it is, but I don't think we're going to get a true indication as to how many real cases are out there, just based on the fact that it's known that there are people carrying the disease that show no symptoms, right? And they're saying that they don't know what that number is, but that number could be significant. So again, I think we have to go back with the data that we have. How much do we trust it? I say there's a good level of trust there, but it's certainly not an outstanding level of trust that we have with the data. So work the best that we can with what we have, and then hopefully the information that we're gleaning from that data will put us in a position where we can make solid decisions.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, any further discussion, council? Nick, you ready to make a motion? Or not?
Yeah, I can make a motion. I guess I could make a motion in the affirmative to approve opening it up tomorrow, and then people can vote accordingly. So if you're okay with that motion, then I move that we follow the governor's plan and open up personal care facilities as we've described, starting tomorrow.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? I declare the motion void for lack of second. Thank you very much, council. Our next meeting will be Monday.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just chime in. I know we have some hands that were raised for public comment. I know with this being an emergency meeting, public comment is not required. So I will defer to you all if you want to take that public comment at this time, or if you want to defer that to Monday night's meeting, which is a regular meeting. I'm sorry, a special meeting.
Regular meeting.
I'm sorry, regular meeting. I can't even keep up anymore.
Regular.
Mr. Murdoch, any advice?
Well, that's the council, if you want to hear a comment.
Would you repeat that? I'm sorry.
It's up to the city council if you would like to hear any public comment at this meeting.
Okay. Is there any interest in hearing any further comment, city council? You can say yes or no. Okay.
Well, if we've already made our decision on the item, is there, I mean, wouldn't we usually hear it if we were, before we were making a decision?
We don't have a motion on the table to discuss, so I think the matter is mute at this particular point in time. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. Since there is no motion on the floor to discuss, then public comment isn't appropriate. So I'll leave it at that. Very well. Our next meeting will be Monday night. Thank you all, council, for being there, and thanks you to the public. And we will continue with our emergency through the 30th of April, and that we will not permit hair and nail salons and barbershops and spas and dog groomers to start business until perhaps on the 1st of May. Is there any further discussion, council? A motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
So moved.
Have a second? Okay. Cindy, you want to do the roll call?
Councilmember Chapman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill.
Yes. That's 5-0. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, staff.